I'll recognize you for 5 minutes of questioning.
I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. As the representative of the Gator Nation and home to the nation's supercomputer at the University of Florida, this is an interesting topic for us because we are investing millions and millions and millions of dollars into R&D, and I think that we are a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of how we manage some of the issues we're coming across. So, and I know we've talked at length today about digital twins, so I want to talk a little bit more about the dark side of digital twins. We see the tremendous opportunities for growth, for expediting supply chains, different mechanisms, but can we talk about some of the malicious and possibly deceptive digital twins, how that might be mitigated, detected, et cetera? I'm going to open this up to you, Miss. I'm going to say Espinel? All right, perfect.
Yes, so I think digital twins, like other forms of AI, can create significant risks. And when we are, like some of the ones that you've just highlighted, in high-risk scenarios, in scenarios where AI is either being developed or used in a way that is having a consequential decision on someone's health, on their education, on their employment, on their civil rights, in those cases, we believe that you should pass a law that requires companies to do impact assessments, identify those risks, and then mitigate those risks. Mm-hmm. The bill that you passed out of committee last year does have provisions on impact assessments, and so I commend you for having thought that through, but I think that is an important element of trying to identify and then eliminate and reduce the risks that you are referring to, is by requiring all companies to do those types of impact assessments and then certify that they have done the impact assessment, they've identified the risk and mitigated that risk.
You don't think that it should be a third party?
So I think there's a lot of discussion about that. I do think we need to ensure that it is not a check-the-box exercise. I think we need to make sure they're effective, right?
Government's very good at that.
Is to work responsibly. There are some pieces that are missing right now in order to have a system of third-party audits that would work effectively at the moment. So for example, there's no accredited body to do third parties. There's no commonly agreed standards. But there are also groups that are working on those, and we're looking forward to working with many members of the community as those discussions continue.
Can I come? Go ahead. I just had one very quick point, which is that I think we have industry support in general for impact assessments, but some of that support falls away when we say that these impact assessments need to happen before these products are publicly released, and if they are unable to mitigate the risks, that they shouldn't be put on the market. So I think that's where the rubber hits the road and why it's very, very important to structure audit or any assessment tools so that they're really they have teeth and they're able to introduce reflexivity before the harm has already happened.
Absolutely.
Yep. We believe impact assessments should be happening at all stages, including before products are released, just from the companies that I represent.
Yeah, and I do too, and I do think third parties is a good idea, but they have to have teeth, right? They can't be third parties that are just sort of reinforcing the views of the corporation. We put Facebook under order when I was at the commission, and I think Ms. Hone was at the commission too. And we required a third-party auditor, and what did that lead to? Cambridge Analytica. So you have to be very, very careful, and you have to make sure it has teeth. And the other point I would make is Ms. Espinel's companies are, large, important companies that can do mandatory risk assessments, and that's a good thing. But if you don't have a law in place, you might well have a race to the bottom.
Yep.
Right? And a race to the bottom starts with bad actors, and it brings good actors down.
Absolutely. No, and staying with you, Mr. Leibowitz, we see the benefits of what a digital twin can do, both in the medical space, supply chains, manufacturing, et cetera. Can you talk about limitations, though?
Mitigation?
Limitations.
Oh, limitations. Well, I mean, look, the current law and current regulatory and enforcement agencies, they're just not a good match for the problems created by AI. And so you really need to craft a law. And I think that the bill you came out of your committee, 53-2 last Congress, is a really good first step. Not the end, but very much the end of the beginning or the beginning of the end.
I appreciate that. And Mr. Gregg, I've been trying to think of a way to incorporate agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. references in my testimony today. I'm just not that quick on my feet today. That being said, I was recently in India, and as I was catching television in and out of the hotel, it was a 24/7 anchor that was AI generated. We are heading for some very scary times. And as AI, as Mr. Altman has said, it is not designed to be a human experience. We're getting very close to that. And so I appreciate your efforts to be here and speak to the issue of creativity and talent and some of the issues that we're going to be facing in both the entertainment and news media world and beyond. So thank you.
Could I just make one point? So I represent the enterprise-facing part of the tech industry. I represent some companies that are big. I represent a number of companies that are quite small. We believe that companies should be able to do impact assessments whether they're big or small, and should be doing them in high-risk cases of AI. But I also want to say we think there should be a law passed, so it's not just our companies who are doing that voluntarily, but all companies in high-risk situations being required to do that.
Not to presume that anyone has bad intentions here, but it does seem a bit like the fox in the hen house. Like, I see government agencies that have to do their own impact assessments on regulations they're trying to force down people's throats, and they don't ever match what the reality is. So I think that a third-party system is probably in order.
Yeah, and going back to your earlier point about limitations and mitigation and what you witnessed in India, right? That's not commercial. So the FTC has no authority there, right? And so that's another reason why you want to look really closely at creating obligations for companies here, right? And the burden should be on the companies. It shouldn't be on the consumers. That's the problem with sort of notice and consent historically. So I can tell this committee is not kicking the can down the road.
Ms. Cammack, I know I can't
know,
show any
I know.
favoritism, even though you're a Florida Gator, I can't. I've got to give the Georgia Bulldog an opportunity.